Hi, everyone. It's Terry Bruce, and this is another 10-minute nonprofit evaluation tips. Now, this month, we've been talking about the foundational question of what is evaluation. And we have described it and defined it as an ecosystem. That is a set of interrelated and codependent subsystems that work together seamlessly to create a process where A leads to B leads to C that together entail evaluation. Now, I want to conclude this month's series about what is evaluation, talking about another case study, similar but slightly dissimilar from last week's. Now, we were talking about customer satisfaction, and we're going to continue with customer satisfaction as our case study, because again, most organizations are doing some level of that, and it's sort of relatable and understandable. So we're going to continue with using customer satisfaction in this case as our example. Now, the this involves a different organization than the one I talked about last week. This organization is one I'm actually currently working with and volunteering with, and they are doing customer satisfaction as well. But it's a very different type of program or service that they're evaluating. This is an event that happens twice a month, and I would call it sort of entertainment versus a mandated orientation. This is people are coming for social reasons and they're hanging out and having a fun time, and it's completely voluntary. And each event features a different set of entertainment or entertainers so that people can come back over and over and over again. So the organization administers a customer satisfaction survey. They want to know, are you having fun? You know, are there suggestions for improvement? Did this feel like a good use of your time, kind of thing? So at first, they were getting very low response rates on their customer satisfaction surveys. So they added a carrot. If you fill out the satisfaction survey, you're entered into a giveaway. So slightly higher numbers of customer satisfaction, still having a struggle to get people to fill it out. But even more importantly, they were just getting the same results, 5, 5, 5. Everything's great, everything's great, everything's great. And they're like, well, is everything great? Or are people just like checking off, fives so that they can get to the giveaway part? And they're not really giving us feedback, and they're not really thinking about that. So how can we improve the customer satisfaction rating and process? Now, I've mentioned previously that when you're using this diagram here to try to diagnose a problem, right? You figure out where you're coming into the model. You may be coming in at any one of these bubbles. And when we're trying to design or diagnose, we go backwards. We work the process backwards, so we figure out where the snarl is and then straighten it out. When we plan and implement, we go forward, we go clockwise on the dial. So in this case, the problem was kind of with the data, right? People aren't filling out the form. So it's the data collection methodology is troubling. People aren't filling out the form. And when they do fill out the form, we're not getting usable data. We're just getting fives. And that just doesn't feel satisfying. Like, yay, we're the best, but it doesn't feel authentic. Like we really are the best. We feel like there could be, more that people could tell us if they were taking the time to actually fill out the form. So as a group, we sat down and we kept, jiggering the form over and over. Like we added the giveaway and we tried changing the questions and less questions, more specific questions. Now, when you're trying to diagnose what's going wrong, as I said, you're going to go backwards. You're going to work the problem backwards. And in fact, you always immediately want to take a step back and look at the bubble before the bubble you're coming into. So we were having problems here at the data collection point. People were not giving us feedback. So you back up to evaluation schema. And evaluation schema is, what do you want to know and why do you want to know it? So what we wanted to know was, are people enjoying the program, right? Is this worthwhile? Should we keep offering it? Or is this not a worthwhile endeavor? And do people have any process improvements, right? System improvements, things we could do better to make it even more enjoyable. Now, part of why we wanted to know this was we wanted to assess whether it was worth if people aren't having a good time, new people are not going to keep coming, right? We're not going to continue being able to get people. We need to change the program or service. So we started thinking about, well, how can you know if somebody's having a good time other than asking them to self-report, right? So that gets into the type of evaluation, and then it kind of comes forward to the how do you collect that data. So we started brainstorming and we're like, yes, customer satisfaction feedback form. And then we had a brainstorm because we were like, well, how else can you know if somebody's having a good time? And we were just spitballing ideas and saying, well, what are indicators of a good time, right? You take photos and you post photos, and people are smiling, right? Like that's an indicator of a good time. So we started thinking about, well, what other data or metrics other than a form, because people hate filling out customer satisfaction forms, that we could use to figure out if people were having a good time. And then it occurred to us, we were already collecting 2 pieces of data already that would indicate if people were having a good time. One of those pieces of data was repeat visitation. Were people coming back to subsequent sessions? Yes, they were. In fact, 50% of the audience at each event were repeat visitors, people who had attended at least once before, and then 50% were first-time visitors. So we could look at, because we were tracking, people had to register for the event, we were taking attendance, we could see, was somebody a first-time attendee or a new attendee? We could also look at like the average number of events that each person was attending, all from data we already had. It involved no additional data collection. We just had to use the data we had smarter. The second piece of information that we were already collecting was that when people signed up for the event, there was a question on the registration form, do you want to be added to our mailing list to hear about future events? About 100% of first-time attendees always said no. They were usually coming to support one of the entertainers, and they were like, I'm a friend or family of so-and-so. I'm here to support their appearance, and then I don't plan to ever come back. I'm not interested in your organization. I don't want to be spammed. I don't want to be on your mailing list. And please don't ask me to give you money. No, go away. After the event, if they filled out the giveaway form and the feedback form, we repeated the question, would you like to be added to our mailing list? Now, originally we added that question accidentally on purpose. We added it because originally people didn't have to register for the event. It was an open event and people could just show up. And so we were collecting after the fact if they wanted to be added to the mailing list. Then we ended up going with pre-registration because we wanted to track repeat visitors, and it's a virtual event online. We wanted to avoid Zoom bombing. So we wanted people to have to register and give us their name and email so that we'd email them the Zoom link instead of posting an open link. And we forgot to take the question off the feedback form. Did you want to be added? So we were asking the same question twice, but this revealed something very interesting. Almost 100% of first-time attendees who then filled out the feedback form and the giveaway form would change their answer and say, yes, add me to your mailing list, when they had originally answered no on the registration form. And we realized this was indicating that they came into the event thinking they were just here to support their friend or family member, and they had such a good time. They were like, I absolutely want to come back and keep going, even when my friend or person is not performing. And that's how we ended up with like 50% of attendees are repeat visitors, different repeat visitors, because we're constantly getting this influx of first-time attendees who then just love us. And we're like, well, that's a good measure of satisfaction right there, that they changed their answer. They wanted to join the mailing list. They want to stay notified and involved. And then they keep coming back. And we realized we didn't even have to administer a customer feedback form. We still wanted to give people a mechanism for giving us suggestions for improvements, because we did get some that were great. Like there were a couple of people who suggested enabling closed captioning in the Zoom meetings, which we knew nothing about at the time. And we looked into it and went, oh, that's actually easy to do. And then people were super happy that we did it. So we did away basically with the customer satisfaction form. We have the giveaway form, and we ask, do you want to join the mailing list? So we keep asking that pre and post. And then also, do you have any suggestions or feedback? And we get a combination of this was great and amazing positive feedback, as well as suggestions for improvement. And so we didn't have to keep asking. And especially we found out that people were not answering the feedback form because many of them were repeat visitors. And so they're like, I've already given you my feedback 20 times, and making me go through, and I know I'm going to have to do that to enter the giveaway. So it's not worth it to me to do the giveaway, because you're going to make me ask these same questions month after month, and I have nothing new to say. So we got rid of that. Even the do you have any feedback is not a required question. It's an optional question. So people can enter the giveaway without answering feedback questions. The do you want to join the mailing list is still required. So we get that pre and post. And it simplified our evaluation. It made us feel better about ourselves. And certainly our participants were much happier not having to be asked to fill out customer satisfaction every time they came to the event and fill out like these 5 or 10 questions. It was a much simpler process. And it was one that we could do with data we were already collecting. So that is kind of the point of this week's talk, is work smarter, not harder when it comes to evaluation. Certainly if you go, we're doing some level of evaluation, and hopefully if you followed the home exercises, you've done some mapping where you mapped out the component parts that you do have, and then you've mapped out whether they make a full circle on the dial, and if not, how you can get them there. And that piece of the process, and once you get things kind of making a full circle, but then when you want to start making process improvements, you don't necessarily have to construct new stuff. The first thing I would recommend that you do is look at what you already have and can you use it in a new way. A lot of times organizations are collecting photographs and they're not thinking of photographs as data, and photographs can tell you stuff like customer satisfaction, smiling, happy people who are reposting the event and saying, this was great and you shouldn't have missed it. And, you should come to the next one. That kind of word of mouth, that is evaluation, or it can be if you utilize that data for something. So look at what you already have and are using and could use better. And the second piece of that is, again, using this dial for diagnosing, figure out where you're coming in and having problems, back up one step and look at, okay, what's kind of the intent or purpose behind this, like the utilization, right? Well, if you're having problems utilizing data to make decisions, go back to distribution. Is it being distributed in a format that lends itself to analysis for utilization? Is it being distributed in a way that, you can look at trends across time? Is it being distributed to the right people and the right stakeholders to come together to have that conversation? If you're having problems with program, service, and design, back up to utilization. Like, what's the purpose of this program? And why are you offering it? What's it for? And who's going to utilize the program? Who are the intended recipients and intended audience? And what are they supposed to do with the program, like the information or the service that they're getting? Are they supposed to make a change in their life? Or they're supposed to share the information, or what is it? All right, well, that was what is evaluation. So join me next month for a new topic. In the meantime, you can email me any questions at terrybruce@gmail.com.